From the Headline News Network, this is Newswatch.
Headline News, I'm Bobbie Battista. A somber journey for the President and Mrs. Reagan. The Reagans are due within minutes at Mayport Naval Station in Florida, where they will attend memorial services for the 37 sailors killed in Sunday's attack on the USS Stark. In remarks prepared for today's ceremony, Mr. Reagan praises the fallen sailors as men who understood their obligations and knew the importance of their job. Despite Sunday's attack on the Stark, President Reagan vows to continue U.S. naval operations in the Persian Gulf. Those operations are drawing some criticism on Capitol Hill. Ralph Begleiter reports.
With the American Middle East Naval Task Force about to begin escorting Kuwaiti oil tankers up the Gulf past Iran and Iraq, the administration's top Middle East policymaker said Washington doesn't expect Iran to attack American ships because doing so would mean war with the U.S.
Attacks on armed military vessels would add a new dimension to the war. They would divert Iranian attention from its principal enemy in Iraq. Iran has not won that war, and we think it would be reluctant to initiate actions that could provoke a second.
Murphy said the second war to which he referred would be one with the United States. It was the first time the administration acknowledged that its Kuwait tanker escort operation is based on the assumption that Iran will not risk war with the U.S. by interfering. The State Department comments sounded alarm bells on Capitol Hill.
Seems to me that in itself should trigger the White House sending us some notice under the War Powers Act.
The administration immediately began clarifying Murphy's comments.
Now, I don't think that we want to say anything that is threatening to other countries, because we do not intend to threaten anyone.
Murphy himself said U.S. escorts for Kuwaiti tankers are not intended to provoke Iran.
We're not trying to make trouble, but we are standing for an essential American interest, calmly and steadily.
The Senate nearly unanimously approved a measure calling for a White House report on the Gulf tanker escort operation before it begins. State Department officials say Murphy meant only to say that an attack on an American ship would be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. The U.S. wants to find out why the pilot ignored or did not recognize an electronic signal from the Stark which identified it as an American ship. Ralph Begleiter, CNN at the State Department.
Israeli officials are trying to block a subpoena of the former director of Israel's foreign ministry. Independent counsel Lawrence Walsh wants to know David Kimke's role in U.S. arms sales to Iran, so he issued a subpoena to him earlier this week. Israel contends Kimke is protected under diplomatic immunity. Pope John Paul II will not visit a hospice for AIDS victims when he is in San Francisco this September. The visit was canceled after a group of gay rights activists sent the Pope a letter criticizing his trip. They called the visit hypocritical because of the Catholic Church's stand against homosexuality. Well, President Reagan is said to be leaning in favor of mandatory AIDS testing for immigrants and marriage license applicants. Such tests are opposed by many lawmakers and healthcare professionals. More from Frank Sesno.
As the deadly AIDS crisis has spread, one of the most contentious issues has been the desirability and effectiveness of mandatory testing. President Reagan has yet to lay out a policy, but is said to believe testing can help control the spread of the disease.
I think the president generally favors some sort of testing, especially in those areas where we have established traditions of testing for contagious diseases.
Several groups already must take health tests. The president's advisors are likely to recommend adding AIDS to the list for immigrants, federal prison inmates, and applicants for marriage licenses, though the states have ultimate jurisdiction there. There is already AIDS screening in the military. White House Domestic Policy Advisor Gary Bauer has been the principal backer of wider testing.
It seems to me that if the CDC is right, that we're dealing with something that potentially is the Black Plague, then any prudent society would take steps, additional steps that we have not yet taken.
The White House drift toward wider mandatory tests brings it into open conflict with many in the medical community. Surgeon General C. Everett Koop argues such tests would be ineffective, costly, and would drive AIDS victims into hiding. Congress is similarly hesitant. The Senate voted Thursday against an amendment to require AIDS tests of immigrants and marriage applicants.
Before any testing is mandated, it seems to me that we must have a better idea of what will become of the test results.
White House officials say the president's Domestic Policy Council will soon debate this issue yet again. and a decision is possible by the time the president appears at an AIDS benefit with actress Elizabeth Taylor on May 31st.
For the Headline News Network 24 hours a day, call your cable operator.
They're commanding, expanding, and riding a wave of success. Learn their secrets on Woman Watch, 2:35 Eastern on the Superstation today. Sponsored by Campbell's Soup.